Hey, I hope you guys are doing good today. We are going to be learning about burial cages from the Middle Ages. I figured this would just kind of be a fun one to do. I've always been interested, I guess. I have always seen them, but don't really know a whole lot of context about them. So here we are. If you do get a chance, I'd appreciate if you can leave a like and subscribe. It helps me out a bunch. And I will have Metatron's video linked in my description below. So be sure to give a like and subscribe as well. But all right, let's check these things out.
Hey, does anyone know what this is?
It's a burial cage. I don't know what exactly it's used for.
The thing. If you watch good YouTube channels, or if perhaps you read history, you're interested in this period and these things, then you already know what these are. However, if you get your knowledge of history from TikTok,
I mean, if you get your information from TikTok, oh gosh, yeah, we're doomed.
you haven't got a clue.
You haven't got a clue. I don't, you know what? I believe it too. I believe it. There's a lot of people that get their information from TikTok. Don't do it. Just don't. You are smarter than this.
Get your knowledge of history from TikTok, you haven't got a clue.
It says this is a grave from the Victorian age when a fear of zombies and vampires were prevalent. The cage was intended to trap the undead just in case the corpse reanimated. How accurate is that?
How about we jump right into it? Okay, so this is a moat safe. But there are several TikTok accounts that are pushing this idea. This has been going on for a few years now. It's not a new thing. That these were medieval graves and that they were built in order to prevent the undead from rising. Some speak about the undead in a zombie fashion, but most refer to vampires. Now, I will grant you that medieval people did believe in vampires. They did believe that vampirism is a thing. We can spend a few words on it if you're interested. In fact, I have another tab here with the idea of medieval vampires. There are sometimes some burials. When you see this, it's the blade of a sickle. We don't know for sure that they thought this was a vampire, but it's a possibility that some people may think, well, this could rise. So I'm gonna put a blade here so that if it does rise, it will cut its own head off, which will kill the vampire.
Well, that's not the worst plan in the world. You know, it's like a little safeguard put in place. I don't hate it.
Vampirism is a thing. From a medieval perspective, though, we shouldn't really see it as black magic, like in a Warhammer sense. It varies depending on the region, but if you look at Eastern European tales, it's perceived more as a type of sickness. So you get sick and you become a creature. It's more looked into that, but people did believe it. And so sometimes there are some burials that do give us the impression that, yeah, they did put something through his freaking mouth. It's possible, indeed. Yeah, there we go. So it is possible that some people did believe that. I mean, why not? Imagine some rural communities, many people die. Imagine the shock of that, right? Half of the people you know are dead because of some disease that you don't understand scientifically, and now they're dead, and then you're worried that this could have some implications, some further implications. Definitely mess with your head when some.
That is true. I mean, like that is a good point, though. I mean, because I think we sometimes take the knowledge that we know nowadays for granted in a way that, if you look back at, like medieval times, even, I don't know, like the 20s, even, or 1800s, there's a lot of things that like we didn't know. And so I would say that, if you had something that runs rampant through your town and, like you have no idea what it is, I bet it's terrifying. Like I bet it's absolutely terrifying because, there's you don't know anything else. So to see that like you could possibly turn into creatures or something like that really isn't that surprising to me. It really doesn't shock me.
This could have some implications, some further implications. Definitely mess with your head when something like that were to happen. So the idea that some people, particularly if they weren't very educated, because educated people in the medieval period, for instance, knew that the earth was not flat. That's one thing. Everyone who could read and write and read the classics knew that. And we can see that in statuary, archaeology, paintings, the earth is represented as a globe. But if maybe you don't know how to read and write, maybe you live in a little rural area, and you generally speaking, you're a hardworking person, but then all of these things happen after you got attacked by some crazy people because of wars, and now this, and someone tells you, hey, look, it's vampirism. I heard it from another village. They
Oh yeah, you would 100% believe them for sure. Yeah.
rise from the
Yeah.
dead. Maybe they believed it. I mean, yeah. I can see that. And so if someone tells you there is a remedy, then you enter the realm of superstition, and sometimes people will believe anything. So yeah, people did believe in vampires, but this has nothing to do with vampire. You see, vampire graves, grave robbers. Exactly. So let's talk a little bit about this. What a moat safe is, first and foremost, contextualizing it from a temporal perspective, it's a Victorian era invention. And in fact, it's not even widespread in all over Europe. We find it initially mostly in the Scottish Victorian sphere. Could you find some cages in England? Yeah. But generally speaking, it's a Scottish thing. What were they supposed to do? They were not supposed to keep the dead in because the dead, they are rising. Fear, you see, this is a grave from the Victorian age where the fear of zombies, nonsense, and vampires was prevalent. False. It's because of robbers. So in this period, there was a non-regular...
Oh, you know what? That makes a lot of sense, though. That you would, if you could afford something like this to keep your dead safe and to keep grave robbers out, you know what? That's fair enough. That makes more sense. But I kind of get it though, because like the way that they look, there is an aesthetic to them that people can like definitely kind of take away of like, oh yeah, like we're trying to keep the vampires and the zombies from like coming out or whatever. But because it kind of has that aesthetic to it. But to keep grave robbers out, you know what? I bet that was Victorian era times. That sounds pretty peak grave robbing times right there.
Need of dead bodies to perform for medical students to practice. It's a Victorian period, remember, so 18th century. And so they needed the bodies because they wanted students to practice, or some students wanted to practice. Where do they get the bodies? At night from a freaking graveyard. Just pick up a couple of bodies. Now, of course, if it's your grandma, you don't appreciate that. Hence, some people started building the cages, which made it virtually impossible for a couple of grave diggers, because then it became a thing. You could sell it, right? Initially, it was some crazy, stupid students, but then some people are like, well, we can make money out of this.
Oh yeah, I know. Like I feel like this could turn into like a whole sick thing, right? Like now you have people that are like they don't care, like they'll dig up anybody and then like sell it to whoever's going to buy it, and now you have this whole mess.
We could sell it, right? So we don't tell them where we got the body, type of thing.
Yeah.
So it became a profitable endeavor. And so you're like, yeah, but not my grandma. You motherfucker, it's not my grandma. So they built the cages. Someone does it, you heard of it, like, okay, how much is that? And they tell you, this is how much I paid. Okay, well, can you hook me up? Because, grandma wouldn't appreciate. So they started doing this. That are
Plus, I mean, like some of these are like pretty, like they look like they're pretty solid. That like I don't think you would be getting through there. At least not very easily and not very quietly either.
Various versions. Some have stones on top of it, but I'd say the most common is just the iron cage. And yeah, it makes it extremely difficult, if not impossible, for people to just do this and not get noticed. You would have to make a heck of a lot of noise to try and cut through actual iron bars. All this is. And interestingly enough, even though I always tell you, guys, be very careful with Wikipedia, because Wikipedia tells a lot of nonsense. When it comes to this, and I really want to point this out to show you how absurd TikTokers are, the level of laziness is unbelievable. This
is very true. Oh yeah, TikTok brain. I mean, okay, I'm not knocking people. Like, if you like TikTok, by all means, you know what, do you? But it does seem like there are some younger individuals who are very, very much chronically on TikTok, and I swear the critical thinking is just gone. It's gone. And it's very, very concerning.
It's one of the very few cases in which it's not even a matter of a Google search, yes, but you need to find the proper article written and reviewed, peer-reviewed. No, Wikipedia would have been enough. Supplied schools of anatomy since the early 18th century. A construction designed to protect graves from disturbance. British
Well, that's
authorities
good.
and whatnot,
Well,
sometimes
good.
they had a blind eye. This is correct. Now it's
So these people didn't even go to Wikipedia, where like he's saying like in the like 1 in a million chance that like Wikipedia finally got something right. Like, you know, nobody even looked.
a very superficial look, the one we see
Bruh.
here on Wikipedia. All a freaking TikToker had to do was to check freaking Wikipedia. Aren't
Yeah.
they intriguing though? I mean, I would want a cage like this. It looks
Oh yeah, 100%. I would love one of these. I think that'd be cool. That'd be pretty dope. I would for sure would love one when I die. Cage me up.
Wikipedia. Aren't they intriguing though? I mean, I would want a cage like this. It looks metal. Look at these. Look at these. Still though,
Yeah,
the guy
they're
who had an
cool.
entire freaking tower. Yeah.
Oh my god, that one's cool though. That one. You know what? That one is making a statement. I like it.
Yeah, you literally need to siege me if you want to get my freaking... Bring your trebuchet if you want to get my body.
Oh, I love
Man,
it.
this guy rocks. This one
Yeah.
is all right, but nothing special. This guy had a whole little...
This other one is
This
the
guy
budget
rocks.
one.
This one is
This is like you're on a budget. Like, you know, this is your budget build.
all right, but nothing special. This guy had a whole little...
He's like a
little crypt.
mausoleum.
I really like these. I don't know what to tell you.
God
I'm a simple
damn.
man. I see iron.
You know what? I get it though. I get it. I like it. You know, I like him. I'm a fan.
I click like. But then again,
Yeah.
you know, they're starting to grow on me. I'll give you that. They're starting to grow on me. I'm going to leave them here. If you're enjoying this video so far, please take a moment to check out my Patreon page. With as little as a $5 support, you can help us ensure that we can continue to produce high quality and high researched content. And at the same time, you get access to polls, extra videos, unlisted streams, and much more. Thank you so much. One thing that I wanted to tell you, even this idea of the zombie. Okay, did medieval people believe in zombies? Well, here's the thing. They did, but believe it or not, if you look at medieval iconography, rather than the Walking Dead, the carcass, the corpse that walk around,
Yeah.
right? Very
Yeah,
physical.
yeah.
Oftentimes is a ghost. So in some
Oh.
medieval representations and stories, particularly when we get towards the late Middle Ages, yeah, ghosts are incorporeal and all that, the way we imagine them. But in high medieval and early medieval storytelling, when they talk about a ghost, it's a zombie. And you can see that in iconography. Let me see if I can find some iconography to show you what I'm talking about. You know, when you see these skeletons and sometimes they still have flesh and they're dancing around, but often they are mentioned as ghosts in medieval tales. Or like when you read some undead stories, the monsters, they touch you, they take you, they bring you, they fight you, and then you need to cut them in pieces, but they're ghosts. It's so strange.
That is kind of like a weird terminology, terminology, like kind of crossover or blending of the two, because I feel like we kind of keep those pretty separate, like in today's world, you know, like we have ghosts and we have monsters, you know, like I feel like they're, you know, almost like apples and oranges, you know, where they're kind of like using them synonymously. I bet that kind of makes things very confusing sometimes.
Our perspective, because we would imagine, well, it's all like, okay, we have the vampires, the undead, the ghosts, the skeletons, but it depends on the story, on the period, on the situation. But sometimes, I'm not saying all the time, but sometimes when they tell us a ghost story and it's a real medieval one, the freaking ghost is as physical as it gets. I do have a dedicated video, by the way, on it, where I actually read you the sources, then the tales. If you're enjoying this video so far, please take a moment to check out my Patreon page. With as little as a $5 support, you can help us ensure that we can continue to produce high quality and high researched content. And at the same time, you get access to polls, extra videos, unlisted streams, and much more. Thank you so much. I'm not sure where the tame wraith comes from. That could be, you know what, that could be interesting for a video. Kind of, yeah, like a ghost is kind of the same as the undead in the sense that it wasn't as fixed as it is for us, right? Because for us, a ghost is a ghost, a wraith is a wraith. Then you have poltergeist, someone moves the objects around, and then you have the vampires, and then you have the lich and all.
Yeah, so like this was just like all in one thing. Like everybody Everybody was just one.
That leeches, can never pronounce it right. Let's have a look at medieval vampires. Now that we have debunked the cages, that's nonsense. As Halloween is just past, don't care. Vampires are kept, don't care. Okay, Twilight is already, we're not starting great, because
Yikes.
this is not a very good representation of a vampire to me. My wife is obsessed. She loved it. She made me watch all of them. The only thing I liked about Twilight was the Italians. Okay, the Italian vampires are badass. If you like Twilight, you think it's the best thing in the world, feel free to take offense. But the Italians are great.
I was not. No, I wasn't a fan of it. I mean, there are far worse things. I actually read the Twilight books before they were even popular. And like even then when I read them, I thought they were just okay, and then the movies came out and I was like, no, this is okay. But to be fair, I'm not really into these kind of movies. Like I kind of like psychological thrillers and horror movies, and I'm not like a mushy, cuddly, warm, fuzzy person. So I don't really like those kind of movies either. So I would be happier watching, something that's, deeply dark and disturbing, or, maybe like something that's like an action movie or something like that. So I get it. Like this movie was, I mean, it really wasn't great, but like he said, if you love the Twilight series, get it. I get it. Enjoy it. Love it. I'm just saying, like for me, I definitely do not take offense to his comments.
Often skeletons are found, there we go, with pieces of iron, and it was believed that the vampires could not touch iron. Again, that depends on the region, but yeah. By driving iron nails into the body, or placing an iron object across the corpse, or even placing iron bars on the tomb, it was hoped that this would prevent a vampire from getting out of their grave when they awoke. So, in the best case scenarios, not the idiots TikTokers that just do a copycat. One does it, everyone else copies it without doing any checking. But maybe someone who was a little familiar with this, so the idea of, well, vampires iron, so the cages are iron, so that the vampire can't touch him. No, the cages of the moat safes are iron, so that the humans can cut it, because it's iron. And good luck cutting that. In the check...
Yeah, right. It's always us. It's always us. We are the biggest threat to everything. Animals. When you die, during that time, it's like, people couldn't just die in peace. It's always us. It's always us.
Town of this, guys, the only word I know in Czech is zmrzlina, to say ice cream. It is what it is. I'm sorry, I can't read it. There is an 11th century graveyard which contains 14 skeletons thought to have been considered vampires. And the article is saying it correctly, thought to have been. It's not like they told us.
Right.
So it's possible. It's an interpretation. They either had their heads cut off, their hands and legs tied, metal spikes driven through their bodies, or rocks placed on top of their bodies. Most were young adults, which is heartbreaking, both male and female, and seen to have died around the same time as each other. Okay, so this is a possible indicator. Do you remember when I was telling you, oftentimes, at least in rural communities, when mass death happens, there must be some psychological connection with mass trauma, whether it be a disease, but it could also be a natural disaster. There's a lot of situations whereby, as you see, people die at the same time, and now people are starting to think, well, they all died of the same freaking disease. How do we know they're not all going to rise? It is a possibility. Same time as each other. Did they die of some epidemic? There you go. Precautions were taken in the belief that the deaths were supernatural. No, I personally don't think that. Oftentimes, the supernatural is a thing, both in classical antiquity, in the medieval period, in whatever the heck you want. However, it's not always the explanation. When we look at, for example, the explosion of Mount Vesuvius, which the Romans did not know was a volcano, for those who have missed my episodes, I guess I'll put some links in the descriptions. I know that when you look at Mount Vesuvius now, you literally see the cut, right? And you're like, yeah,
Right, but like how would they know? You know, like they probably don't even know what a volcano is. You know, that was probably the most, like magical thing that probably happened to them,
Obviously, it's
which is like also extremely devastating.
a volcano. I can see it. Well, it had a full peak. It looked like a normal mountain. The peak exploded.
Yeah.
Hence, it looks the way it does now. And you can see that in representations of the mountain from the Roman period. It looks like just a regular mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And the Romans did not know it was a volcano. Sometimes we ask, why were they so stupid to build one?
It was just bad luck, and if it hadn't ever erupted, and that was maybe the first time that it went off, like he said, it's gonna look like a mountain. And how would they know? You know, like that. It's not like they know volcanoes necessarily, or to them, it's just a mountain. I think it's just bad luck.
Well, we still do it, but regardless, they didn't know. It's very likely, in fact, that any memory of a previous eruption, which we know happened, was prehistoric. So by the times the Romans settled the area in the Republic, there was no collective memory of something that happened in the Stone Age. Regardless, when the volcano exploded, and we read Pliny the Elder, Pliny the Younger, the various emperors, letters of this, letters of that, there isn't a single one, and I've read them because I made a few videos on the topic. There isn't a single one that says, oh, the gods were punishing us. They don't say it. They say, what is the natural cause? What is the cause and effect, the causal link? Why did this happen? They try to figure it out. Sometimes they're wrong, particularly when...
Well, yeah, but I mean, they're asking the right questions. You know, they're not just being like, "Oh my God, it's like Zeus struck us down" or something. Like they're asking the right questions of like, like what exactly happened, or like what do we think happened? Obviously, we had this traumatic event, but it can't just be like something from Sky Daddy came down and just fucking struck us or something.
When they try to figure out why, after an eruption, the surrounding area, after the lava solidifies, it becomes fertile. They thought it was some kind of fat. They were wrong, but we know now what it is that makes it fertile, which is true. But they don't try to say, well, maybe it's a blessing from the gods after the terrible destruction that has occurred.
Yeah,
We
critical
don't see
thinking.
that. They're very pragmatic, at least the classics in classical antiquity. Now, yeah, some people may have thought that way. I mean, we do. How many people do say, oh, I hope that God protects us, and unfortunately sometimes I read it, as I say, I debunked one the other day. Sometimes there is a natural catastrophe and people are saying, oh, you're being punished for your sins. Some people say that, so I'm sure the people said it in the medieval period too, but we shouldn't.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like obviously, this isn't like this is everybody. It's just that you had a lot of different consensus, and you had some of your scholars probably at work coming from a more realistic perspective of asking why, whereas other people, like they definitely could have been like, yeah, this is like a God thing.
Think that that's the to-go thing, because these people are superstitious. No,
Yeah.
particularly in classical antiquity, it's not always the to-go answer. Usually they try to look at the natural explanations before they move into the realm
That's fair.
of the supernatural. And this happens both in classical antiquity and in the medieval period. It is a fascinating discussion.
This was good. I you know what? This was actually really interesting. I kind of like that he went further into like monsters and ghosts and vampires and stuff like that. And then, like he kind of like we went a little bit further than that past just the burial cages. But this is good. This is cool. These look pretty dope. I'm not gonna lie. Burial cages are pretty cool. I like them. Let me know. Do you want one when you die? do you want something cool like this? Because yes, I would actually be down with this for sure. But this is great. He gave us a lot of good information as always, and definitely like brings up some good points to think about for sure. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I really appreciate you guys being here. Be sure to go and like and subscribe to Metatron. He does an amazing job. I really like his videos. But that's going to do it for me. I hope you guys had a great day, and I will see you in the next one.